I'm just I'm drafting my tweet right now. Sorry the episode's late. Eddie's fan was very well lubricated and never slowed down and stopped.
In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Katherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym KA Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddie.
And I'm Chris.
And we are...
the Anidorks.
These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Oh, man. All right. How do we want to start?
We're on chapter 13. What just happened? Rachel with her
This is bad. We just had a terrifying meeting with Chapman. We had the whole shoes thing. We had throwing away our shoes. Like, it was a whole... We had to throw away our shoes.
Mm-hmm. I know this sounds confusing, but can we refer to chapters as Chapmans from now on?
So Rachel's still at school, and she's planning to meet up with the rest of the Animorph to go to JMM's? JJM's. Yeah. And yeah, so she calls her dad. She's basically covering her bases, right? Because she won't be...
Who the hell is JJM? What is JJM?
Jeremy Jason McCole.
Thank you. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. I think naming it McCole, I only remember the Cole part, so I keep thinking JJC.
Oh, so you just keep thinking it's Cole Sprouse. Gotcha.
Yes, exactly.
That's how I imagine it now. Yeah, so she calls her dad, and she just has to be back by dinner, right? Like, she has her afternoon covered until she gets...
Yeah, she's like, I'm just going to hang out with Cassie. And he's like, I have to interview this important man in front of the courthouse about the weather.
Very vague. Not something that comes back later, right? It's not connected to the plot. She gets a little moment where she talks... I think we've gotten this from a few narrators now, how easy lying has become, lying to hurt their families.
And that they want to tell them all the truth someday. They're so looking forward to that day.
Mm-hmm. And then she goes and she morphs into a seagull, but she waits a very long time to tell us that she's morphing into a seagull. She basically waits, I think, the whole chapter here to just tell us.
Yeah, it's true.
There's a lot of buildup for a morph we've seen before.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, my morph is going to love this environment because she's sneaking out. Did we talk about where she is?
Not exactly. She's off in the woods near school.
A copse of trees, right? Or a stand of trees right near the school. I'm imagining like at our school, there was like a football field and there was a little copse of trees, like a little stand of like very small, like maybe 8 trees in between the back of the elementary school and the football field.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
gone now.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of trash here, which makes sense because they're near a school.
And children are notoriously dirty.
Yes, soda cans, chip wrappers,
filthy children,
and McDonald's bags. And she's talking about how I laugh because for the morph I was going into, this was like the perfect world. Oh, you don't know what I'm morphing into yet. What is the reason?
So what are we thinking? What are we thinking, guys? We're thinking rats. Yeah, Are we thinking rats here? Or are we thinking garbage truck? Are we thinking? What are we thinking?
Yes, garbage.
Here? Garbage truck morph.
I just can't wait to clean up. Janitor morph.
Janitor morph. Janitor morph.
Yeah, and Tobias is providing lookout for Rachel too.
That's true. He like makes her signal that she can hear him, and then he's like, "All right, you're good to change."
Mm-hmm. Oh, Miranda.
I really actually didn't mean it that way and did not realize how creepy it was until you two reacted to it.
I think I reacted more to Chris's reaction.
I was just doing like a sneaky mobster voice. I'm like, all right, you're good to change. You're in the clear.
Yeah.
You can remove your disguise.
Yeah.
And she starts shrinking and talks about how it's a lot like a falling when you shrink
We
for a morph.
We hear this every time, yeah.
But there's one part I want to hit, which is just that she describes herself. She's turning white as snow, white as paper, and then I was a creepy shrinking ghost, which was just such a silly way of describing it. It's pretty good. It is. It's just, it's a lot of buildup for a seagull morph.
It is. That's true. I have a small feeling about this chapter, and I feel like I'm going to be paying attention to it in forthcoming books. And I also want to go back and reread some of the other books, but I feel like there's always this weird transitional chapter, or there's often a weird transitional chapter where morphing or acquiring a morph is given a huge amount of weight. And I don't know exactly what the rule is yet, but this reminds me, granted this has less plot value than what I'm about to say, which is Cassie helping the skunk on the side of the road, which fell very squarely in the middle of the book. There's just this middle of the book chapter vibe that happens in these books sometimes, where we get a chapter like this where literally all we talk about is what we did before we did the thing.
Yeah.
And it just seems weirdly consistent. It's like the calm before the storm or something.
I think that that's functionally true, how the chapter functions is it provides that calm. But I actually think, because didn't we discover, Chris, I think this was after we were recording last week, that this is one of the shorter books we've had all series. And I actually think they're just using it to get
time.
Buy time. It's just the book went a little short. So let's draw out the seagull morph.
Yeah.
I like that we get a Rachel Tobias beat. I think if we just took the whole chapter to have them talking, that would have been nice too, because they still end up.
That would have been much nicer.
Kind of missing each other here, at the end.
Yeah, very much so. It's almost the same conversation of how are you? I'm fine. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm tired of people freaking asking.
Yeah, frankly, they're not a good fit
for communication styles.
I get it in terms of I get that it's shipped, but I'm not impressed, and frankly, I don't think I know one of them's a bird, but I'm just saying this relationship doesn't exactly have legs.
Do have legs.
Yeah, but they're little bird legs.
Listen, not every relationship can have the ultra communicator that is Cassie present.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, Lord knows Jake gets it from her.
So Rachel manages to do this morph. Oh, guys, I realized why we watched this.
Was that Andrew Dice Clay? No.
I realized why we watched her do this morph. It's because the last two morphs she's done have been unintentional, and this was a very intentional morph.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Nothing has gone wrong.
Oh.
She has successfully morphed what she wanted to morph when she wanted to morph it, and not morphed anything else.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go with that as a working theory. Let's take that into chapter 14.
Okay, so we're flying. All of the seagulls are together. Well, seagulls.
The seagulls
acts as a harrier.
Yes, and then Tobias is a hawk.
Yeah.
I think of him more as a furrier, but
Tobias and Max are hanging out higher up on the thermals.
This is a new era of Chris joke telling, everybody. Get ready for great new puns coming at you live. All right, take it away, Miranda.
I don't know what I was saying.
Bam!
Every time you enter a new era of humor, you just go, bam!
Bam! We're in the new epoch, baby! Bam! Like Emerald.
Careful.
I always said this about him. He was the Garrison Keillor of cooking shows.
No! Stop!
Miranda almost fell out of her chair. Tobias only really makes a cameo here and gets to feel underappreciated. He just is scouting the boat for them, but I feel like he leaves quickly and he's gone the rest of the book. Is that how you two felt?
That is true. Yeah. Yes. He is in this scene. He's in this scene big time.
We get some more male bonding here with Tobias and the other boy and boy adjacent things.
True. You're right. Maybe you're right, Chris.
I'm worried
for some
about
reason
the boys.
Think that actors are super wussy. I don't know if that was a thing in the 90s that actors were thought of as sissy boys. Definitely in community theater that's thought of, or
do you think
stage
it's the actor
theater
thing that they're taking issue with?
No.
I'm betting that's our wussy boy actor.
I thought they meant...
Oh, you think he's a wuss outside of also being an actor?
Yes.
I think he's a wussy boy.
Yeah.
No, because they gotta love Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
Well, they talk about Brad Pitt. They don't like Brad Pitt.
No, they don't like Brad Pitt. They haven't recognized that they do love Brad Pitt.
Yeah, well.
So we're ragging on Jeremy Jason McCole.
So yeah, they're approaching Jeremy Jason McCole's boat. I'm going to remember that without looking by the end of the book. I think I just did. Am I getting it right? Yes, I did.
Yeah, you got it right. Yeah, you nailed it. No, that's why I'm laughing. I think I just did caught me off guard. Oh, no. I think I just did.
Tobias does leave almost like immediately.
He leaves, yeah, and Rachel gives this like moment of like, he thinks he's not as helpful, but he's actually the biggest supporter of our cause, and he's got more to, you know, he's paid a higher price than anybody and all that.
But she goes on to say that it's his administrative work that it makes him indisposable in the organization.
Yes, yeah. He's a good little typer.
It's his little bird accountant. Yeah. Yes, he's a good little typer. He takes roll at every meeting.
Mm-hmm. I will say none of us has paid a higher price in this war with the Yeerks than Tobias has. But
yeah, surely not Elfangor.
No.
Surely not Axe, who lost his Elfangor.
Yeah.
Surely not Marco, whose mom is a doctor.
She's a breadwinner.
You guys are so... Yeah. So the thing about this show is... I'm going to let everybody know a little secret. I don't get many yes ands anymore.
That's not true.
That's not true.
I don't get nearly as many as my cute ass deserves.
What do you want me to follow up who is a doctor with? That's the punchline. You've made the punchline.
But that's the thing, is because nobody plays with me anymore, I just make meta punchlines specifically to you guys where I say things about the books that aren't true to see if you're even listening to me anymore.
That's great, Cassie. Anyway.
Oh my God, you think I'm Cassie? Oh my God.
Absolutely Cassie, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my
God. Maybe it's
Tobias.
Like, no one even needs me here anymore.
No one even needs me here anymore.
Tobias leaves because he's having trouble flying over the ocean, and we get a little moment
no thermals. Also, you say, Chris, we're not yes-anding you, but you didn't even claim thermal watch.
Well, thank you for catching my slippage.
Yes.
Don't like that.
I don't like that either, but I was
not sure what it means, but I don't like it.
I don't know what's happening, and frankly, we might have a book 11 situation on our hands right now. We might be.
No, we're good. We're good.
But you're right. Thermal watch.
But we get a little moment where who's our narrator? Rachel comments on the...
It's time to play. Whose narrator is it anyway?
With Colin Mockery and Ryan Stiles.
See, that was a nice little moment of yes-anding, Chris. No, great.
That was wonderful. Yeah. That was great. You're absolutely right.
What am I
take
trying
it all
to say?
back.
It's difficult. It's easy for seagulls to fly on the ocean. The seagull brain knew how to exploit every lull in the breeze, and the body was almost tireless. You suspect this is not the case, right?
They are good at being around and flying and staying put, I guess. I feel like there's this thing in these books where they always have to show an advantage to a morph.
Mm-hmm. It always has to be the right morph for the right moment.
Right.
Yeah. And they, even to the point where they're like, peregrine falcons are better at this, but red-tailed hawks are better at that. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's true.
Well, I think part of that is just to be like, guys, nobody has the coolest morph, okay? They're all special.
I think that's true, especially with the big,
There's no advantage to ants or crocodiles, though, is what.
No.
Yeah. But I guess I feel like there's this somewhat, I don't know if it's like a dated sense of fitness where it's like everything has to be highly tuned to its environment, but I'm not saying it's problematic. I just noticed the book's really pushing for this idea that morphs are always at least somewhat advantageous.
Well, what's the first thing to go in a socialist society?
Seagulls?
Specialization.
Oh, there you go.
This is just another piece of the anti-socialist agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank God you said that. I was worried that I lost my other co-host.
Chris, I want to point out, did you see what I did for you there? I teed you up.
That was really, really, really nice. Thank you. I needed that. I needed a little...
I'm sorry, the Little League World Series is going on right now, and I don't think you could keep up.
No, I couldn't. But when everybody went to ponies, which was the like pre-Little League, like it's 2 steps below Little League, there was an interim league if you weren't good at sports that I got put in and I got to pitch. But in that league, if you felt like the pitching wasn't working for you, you could request a tee.
Really?
And this was not T-ball. But so thank you, Eddie, for helping me.
Yeah. Did you request a tea?
I did.
Yeah.
That is what I was doing by bitching about it effectively.
Come on, guys, hold the ball for me.
Give me a tee. Just hold it still and I'll give it a good smack.
Okay, so Axe can spy, because Tobias left, so now Axe is the eyes, and he can see the debris. This whole time, we've just been flying out to the debris. This whole
Debris is the yacht?
Yeah, debris is the yacht.
Yes.
Thank you. And what does Axe see on the boat but 2 older males?
We're all trash today.
1 female of medium age and 1 juvenile male.
Medium age.
I don't like medium age at all in this context.
30s?
Yeah,
40s?
I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be 20s. It's going to be younger 20s.
Oh, that's
If
old
he's
when you're a child. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's disturbing.
And also, like, I feel like the girl was brought to be eye candy for Jeremy Jason McCole, and if he's an actual
what is he-
child,
what is he?
she's
He's
not
a
going to
little
be
child.
too young or too old. I mean, she's going to be like 18, 19.
Is this our take
weird.
on this book, but that Jeremy Jason McCole is a victim? I think that might
For
He
sure.
is
Well,
of
he
the
is.
system.
Absolutely.
Yes. But the book goes out of its way.
Where were his parents?
That's a very good question.
They
Where are
probably
his
negotiated this
parents?
meeting on this yacht with this weird older man and adult woman.
I heard that they picked him up at an orphanage. And
We get a whole thing here about how Jake and Marco complain about Jeremy Jason McCole and the fact that Cassie and Rachel are into him, and Cassie and Rachel are just like, it's so sad to hear so much jealousy, don't you think?
I really like that.
Yeah, it was fun. Jake says, "Say it, brother," to Marco, and Marco.
It does not.
And one of the things Marco is saying is about, you know, how scared he's been before, but like the hero worship is the most pathetic thing he's ever seen. And in this speech, he says, I mean, I've been scared before. Hey, I've been horrified, screaming, wanting to wet myself, terrified before. And this is not the first time I've had this conversation with Marco, but you are not supposed to feel like you want to wet yourself.
Yeah, surprisingly, we've had to cover this a lot with him.
Yeah.
It's
like
not
he
that you
keeps
become
getting called
so scared that you have the sudden desire to wet yourself. It's
urge,
really not voluntary.
Yeah. You know what? And Marco, like, anytime you need to come to the Anna Cool Kids office to talk about your feelings, that's good. And I'm glad. But I just want to stress, like, if you're coming here because you want to wet yourself, that's a different thing. And we need to get that checked out.
Yeah, we need to, you know, like, we're not saying there's anything necessarily wrong, but, you know,
we're not saying there's anything necessarily right
for that.
Was it Marco?
Yeah, exactly.
Go to the internet.
Who said this before?
I'm 90% sure.
He talks about peeing more than you think.
No, here we go. The Predator. We decided to do something so dangerous it makes you want to wet yourself.
There we go. That's Marco.
Yeah. So we're at the yacht. We're here. We see everybody. A movie producer, a guy with their back to them, a woman in a bikini who is young and pretty and apparently of medium age, and Jeremy Jason McCole. And the girls are very hyped. You know, he says he's smart enough to say that his favorite color is crimson, not red. You know, he didn't just go for red. He went for crimson.
And for a moment, which, by the way, that detail is amazing because when they're bleeding out in the ocean in a second, I just imagine him saying, look at all that.
Oh, that's my favorite color.
That's my favorite color right there.
And this is when Rachel and Cassie, they insist on being the ones who go down to the boat and, like, make sure they're going to be the
I was going to segue into that.
Yeah.
There's a moment where Jake is like, okay, we obviously can't trust the girls around this young lad. So we should be the ones. We're impartial judges. We'll go visit the wussy boy. To which Cassie and Rachel are like, absolutely not. Like that, like we're going to let that happen. Like we're going to give you that chance.
And it's funny because the book does play it consistently as both Rachel and Cassie, they actually seem to want to do their job. They want to do this mission. They realize that Jeremy Jason McCole, look at that, how quickly and confidently I said that.
It was beautiful. It just remember that for any job interview.
Hello, Jeremy Jason McCole. That'll get me the job.
Bam! 3 names. We can't afford not to hire this kid.
That's right. They realize he's a threat if he gets yerked and can influence all these teenagers to go to the sharing. But they also just want to get close to him and look at him. And it's like
they want to be near him so badly, and they so badly want him to not be evil.
Yes.
But at the same time, the second he's not evil, they lose their chance to continue being near him.
Yeah. No one's been in a more difficult situation than Cassie and Rachel in this book.
That's true.
Yeah, not in the entire history of Animorphs. I think we're
even
good.
The history of, the United States.
Oh, yeah. The Bronze Age collapse had nothing on this.
Oh, yeah. No, just the history of the world. Yeah, that's a good point.
So another little factoid that Cassie brings up is that...
No, Rachel.
You're right. Are you proud of yourself?
I am proud.
Yeah, you should be. Was born in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And... Cassie then chimes in. He has 2 sisters. Their names are Jessica and Madison. Way more sensible than Sarah and Jordan.
That's right.
And then they just switch to nice chest, nice legs.
Nice legs.
Let's get closer. It really has like this petri dish kind of feeling to it.
Really, But I want to say, a lot of media, I feel like, tried to act like girls did not feel this way about boys.
Agreed. Yeah,
that's true. Actually,
not falling into that.
That's actually that's great.
Like when girls crushed on boys in shows, they would do the he's so cute and look at his face and stuff, but they would not like the chest, the legs, the
or
level
his
of,
hair, but they stuff that's so physical. But they're so thrilled to be near Jeremy Jason McCole. And then, as they get closer, Rachel says, it was then that I fell out of love with the extremely cute, he's still cute, Jeremy Jason McCole.
Can't stop that.
And we go into chapter 15.
Chapman 15, here we go.
Where we find Jeremy having a tense conversation with his producer.
Yeah, and they can't quite get
conversation.
Yeah, choppy like the waves, but they can't quite get all of it, but you definitely hear enough of it to get a sense of it. It's interesting to me that they add the element of not being able to hear all of it. Here's what I'm going to say. Unless it comes up later in the book series, it serves no measurable literary device. Unless we learn later that we didn't heir the whole story. But it doesn't come up in this book.
Which I guess we could find out, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't
come up in this book. So anyway, but yeah, so...
Well, they're talking about the logistics of what exactly the sharing could do for Jeremy Jason McCole and what Jeremy Jason McCole would do for the sharing. And I kind of feel like they just didn't want to... This solves the problem of them having to figure out exactly how they're selling Jeremy the sharing.
Yeah, that's actually... Yeah, and I hadn't considered that. It just makes it easier to write from how much do I need to set down on the page.
It gets to be very vague and not make a lot of particulars. So it's we don't have to talk about what show he was on, or we can... through very few words establish, he's moving on from that part of his career, and there's this known, he's at the known edge of that bubble where he's trying to transition from child star.
That makes so much sense. I was thinking about it from, it's so much in... I feel like I'm learning about just how exhausting it must have been to write these books. And it's almost adorable that I forget every time, that you have to point out to me over and over and over again. It's that chapter could have just been trying to make the book longer.
But also, hey, there was a whole, I don't remember what it was, but I definitely referred to something as context clues and illustrated guide or something. And, this is they introduced a word and I was here's an example of how to teach a child a word through context. And it's this is a good test for trying to fill in what words would go here. So it's but first you must agree to my blank. They are blank. Simple. And I'm okay, all right, kids, what makes the most sense here for an extortionist to be saying?
And I know a lot of people are going to say terms.
Yep.
But let's try some other options before we go straight to terms.
Guidelines, rules.
But first, you have to agree to my... What the hell?
Birthday party invitation?
Thank you. You have to RSVP. The first person who talks is the producer. The producer is trying to convince Jeremy that his career is ending.
Yeah.
So he needs to explore all possible options.
We don't think that the Yerks have actually mention the slug bit too. They mention a procedure, I think, but we don't think they're saying there will be a slug inserted into your ear, right?
That seems to be what's coming out, that he knows more than he should. So he's definitely a voluntary controller. He seems, or they're grooming him to be, like, he seems to be agreeing to this because he's like, you know, what's in it for me? And then he's like, all right, let's do it. Let's try this procedure if you're really sure it can make me a movie star. And even though he doesn't know that it's a slug in his ear and he doesn't necessarily know about the, like, you know, parasitic race trying to take over the world, they're still, like, so beyond disappointed in him.
Meaning Cassie and Rachel.
Yes, thank you. Meaning Cassie and Rachel, and Rachel in particular, because she's like, he wouldn't be falling for this if he wasn't. What she says is, he wouldn't be falling for it unless he was a creep.
Yeah.
Because Cassie's like, oh, well, they tricked him. And it's like, if you're willing to do anything, including unknown things, for fame and fortune.
If you're trickable in this way, like where are your limits? Like how far will you go?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's both that he's selling out to the Yeerks and he's willing to sacrifice these things for something he doesn't really understand, but also he just seems to resent the Cassies and Rachels in his that are like essential to his career. Yeah.
At one point he says that he's, you know, sick of always playing the goody good and having the little fangirls screaming his name. And I'm like, if you're sick of that, quit.
Yep. Yeah. It's pretty fucking easy,
Thousands of people lined up who are basically just as good as you, if not
I don't even want that attention, and I would take it.
Yeah.
So fuck right off. Yeah. And then we have a really great moment here where the other man on the boat, who we couldn't quite see, we couldn't quite tell what he was about, but he steps in and he says, all right, producer, you've had your chance. Let's stop wasting time, okay? We've been talking. I can promise you the world. I can promise you everything, money, power. But first, you have to agree to come to my birthday party and get this. But no, you have to agree to my terms and you have to go through with this procedure and represent the sharing. And then your career will continue to flourish. And there's just a nice moment of recognition of energy. It's almost as though it's like when Patrick Stewart plays a role, like he really transforms into the role and you buy it. But it's also fucking Patrick Stewart killing it. And that's what Visser 3 is doing right now.
That's right.
In this right-hand man of the producer who's here to promote the sharing. Like, he is just crushing this cell. I'm sure there was a PowerPoint earlier and a free lunch.
Yeah, on the inside of the yacht.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's how they get you. Because they say, come in on my yacht. See about my Yorkshire, you know?
Oh, I know. And they tell you that it's going to be free, but...
Right. And that it,
now
right,
there's lawyers out here who specialize in getting you out of your Yorkshires. You know, there's a whole industry. It's like trying to remove Norton antivirus from your computer should not require antivirus software.
I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she's McAfee. I don't know.
Visser 3 is here, and Jeremy Jason McCole... He just took
his shirt off, and he's looking so ripped. He just
you were gonna say wet. I don't know.
Both.
So Rachel's really upset at having this revealed that Jeremy Jason McCole is kind of not a good dude. As we all are when people do shitty things that we find out about when we liked stuff that they were in. It's been happening a lot.
Emerald.
It's hashtag Emerald, hashtag recently, but not so recently, but then again, recently for some reason, Martin Freeman.
I think new rule, if you play a role that's super iconic, they should just kill you afterwards.
Your jersey should be retired. You're not allowed to act anymore.
Yeah. Like, we got lucky with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. But
David Tennant also does a good job.
David Tennant also does a good job. Like, Christ, you know? Like, I can't be rewriting my Bilbo soul. Like, let's just take him out back and, you know, take it.
So Rachel is very upset. Rachel and Cassie are very upset, but they're like, this is disappointing, but we can't let them make Jeremy Jason McCole a controller. They're like, even if we're not happy with, we're not doing it for him at this point, but we have to do it because he has too much power, and that's too much power for the Yeerks to have.
And while you say that, I think you're understating how upset Rachel is
specifically.
Because she's like, she has been so offended by the fact that Jeremy Jason McCole would sell out the entire human race. By the way, she says, like, who the hell would do something like that? And I'm like, yay, Wenji from the 3 Body Problem. But that's not important right now. The important thing is she's madder than she even realizes, and she doesn't even know why that matters at this exact juncture, but she's feeling emotional. She
Real emotional.
starts to morph.
Oh, but there's also a nice little moment.
Sink lower.
I'm sorry, did I miss a moment?
I just went,
Take us back.
I like this. I caught it on the reread. I felt sick inside. I know it's nice to have, I know it's dumb to have a crush on some actor you only know from TV, but it's a nice, normal kind of dumb. And I didn't have much normal anything in my life. And I feel like that puts how she feels so much of this book in huge perspective.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
Every normal thing is being taken away from her at every turn.
In fact, that line is a perfect metaphor for why Eddie and I will never do another Anidorks podcast together, because Eddie was like, I need this book to be curing the world. And I said, I like this little silly farce of a book. I like this little romp, you know? Like, and Eddie was like, I needed to fix the Hunter Biden situation. And I said, I don't even know what that is.
Who's worried about the Hunter Biden situation?
Not me.
Yeah, weirdly not me either, but you know.
I'm like not even, I read The Guardian every day and I feel like I know less and less about what's happening in the world.
So yes, then they fly back. They fly back to Jake and Marco, and
they don't make it very far.
No, she begins to morph.
Cassie notices because Rachel's just like, for some reason I'm sinking. That's weird. Like I can't fly as high. And Cassie's like, girl, you have an elephant trunk. Maybe do something about that. Which again, Cassie is now witnessing something that shouldn't be possible.
Right. A morph to morph.
Right.
Which is a really insane way of putting it.
Which she's only had described to her up to this point, right?
Right. Cassie's never seen it herself. Rachel mentioned that it happened, but I think it was in the realm of Cassie being able to disbelieve it.
Yeah, she tried to be like, well, I was really tired, you know, and maybe part of it was a dream, and I just dreamed that I went from morph to morph.
Yeah.
Up on the 22nd story.
But she falls.
I don't know why I remember that detail.
She falls into the ocean, morphing into an elephant, and right before she hits the water, she sees Visser 3 in his human morph staring back at her. So he's seeing this happen.
She blew their cover. They had the perfect covert op. They had actually nailed it for once. For exactly once, the fucking Animorphs had nailed a plan.
Yeah, they managed to stay out of sight well enough that even Visser 3 didn't notice that 2 of the seagulls seemed particularly interested in their conversation.
Literally because Rachel wouldn't take a fucking sick day. And I know she has good reason, and I'm sorry for sounding so mad, but it is just like they were so close. They were so close to having a really good plan. And yes, it was partly Rachel's plan, so you can't be too mad. Yeah. But my God, they were so close.
They didn't need her inches. There. They had too many people there, even after they cut Tobias.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
So we end the chapter.
Chapman 16.
She said she's drowning in an elephant's body, and all she could do was wonder why. And yes, so we pick up, and she's still sinking, and Axe is in a shark morph trying to find her. So he's swum down into the ocean. They're in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
He has located her.
Yeah.
But she's like totally losing it. She can't. Not only can she not focus and demorph, her brain starts to go real silly after she realizes that she is too far down.
Yeah, she's getting very, very silly.
Because she's like, I don't know if it's oxygen deprivation or what, but she's like, that's a fucking talking shark. What?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. And she's like just high as shit right now.
Yeah. And as she's experiencing that, I actually think the Animorphs do a pretty good job of adjusting to the circumstances. Like Marco stays up at the surface or above water, keeping an eye on everything. Cassie comes down in a dolphin morph. I think Jake's in a dolphin morph.
Jake comes down in a dolphin morph as well, and Axe is in his shark morph.
Rachel starts singing, "Oh, what fun it is to morph and morph today. Hey." And
Marco hears it. She's apparently broadcasting it. I don't know if Visser 3 heard it.
And I think Marco sees Visser 3 start morphing.
Do you think Visser 3 heard that and was like, oh, that'll be good for the musical?
Yeah, he starts snapping his fingers.
Starts snapping his finger.
Then Rachel does yet another unexpected thing right as she's not as, like, she starts to come back from the brink of unconsciousness and she realizes she is no longer an elephant. She is morphed an ant.
Yes.
And she's found her way into an air bubble.
Which I feel like, first of all, wonderful image, really cool. And like, just, it seems like it'd be a fun video game to be an ant in an air bubble in the ocean. Second of all, I feel like this is thematically nice. Like, ants are the most terrifying morph they've had to date for Rachel. Other than termites, I guess.
And
but
ants
like, I
are
don't
also
know.
largely about losing control. Which is exactly what's going on for her.
The swarm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, the swarm.
Yeah, but we don't actually, I don't feel like we get that much about the ant morph. She kind of just goes right through it, right? Like,
No, yeah, she does. She doesn't know what's going on. It's just that the others now can't find her because she's an ant.
So maybe that kind of saves her, actually. And it's at this point we get from Marco that Visser 3 is going from Andalite morph into something else. So maybe he had gone back to Andalite, and now he's morphed into something else. And Rachel keeps morphing, right?
Yep.
Yeah. She morphs into a crocodile.
She can't stop. She won't stop.
And this is good, actually, because she can breathe again once she enters into her crocodile morph.
Yes. What? Well, she manages to get herself up to the top. They can hold their breath a long time.
Okay. Yes,
they can hold their breath a long time, and they're good swimmers.
She gets her breath back when she's an ant in the air bubble.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
But the volume of air seems to expand to fill her lungs, I guess, because she can hold her breath a long time to get to the surface. Or she actually might have risen to the top a good bit as the ant in that air bubble. We don't know where she was when she morphed back.
Air goes up.
Oh, also, through all of this, Rachel and Jake are also having this exchange where, because now Jake knows about her situation. This is the first time Jake's learning that Rachel has having these involuntary morphs.
Previously, the only person who knew was Cassie, and she thought it was a one-time thing. She didn't even know that it had happened a second time.
Yeah. She was supposed to talk to Axe, and she did not. So now Rachel says, to Jake, I guess maybe I should have mentioned I was having this problem with morphing. And Jake says, no, it's much better to find out this way, Rachel. You know, when you could get us all killed. And Rachel says it's not like Jake to be sarcastic.
Do we think that's true? I think that's true.
Yes.
It is somewhat true. It's rare to hear him
joking in any kind of way.
Yeah,
like, even if it's, like, not a real joke, it's more of a Jake, if you know what I mean. It's rare to hear him be this candid. Like, he's mad.
Yeah. We saw it with Cassie in book 9 when she was having her whole skunk situation.
That was a whole 3 books ago.
Yeah. And so now they see also Visser 3 in the water. Marco says, look out for those spears so he can see what Visser 3 is morphed into. They look nasty. And Axe recognizes the morph. He says it's a lebtin javelin fish.
Yeah, and this kicks ass. So we've got a new species out of nowhere. Visser 3 is so good at really breaking up the monotony.
Yeah.
Like, he even recognizes that in the annals of history, like, people will be reading about this and they'll be like, so what did he morph this to? Like, he knows that everybody's wondering. You know, when he goes to the Met Gala, you bet he has a new morph.
Yeah, it's a new morph every time. He could do that one that says wump, wump, wump from book 4, but he didn't.
But this one is a little... Wait, you know what? This one, he thought, why not a pawump? Show your range.
That's right.
Show your range.
Yeah.
Rachel's swimming away in cracker morph. I was going to say cralligator, but I cut myself off and it just...
I feel like the books are making a callback with this will go through the whole book, I think. Is it a crocodile or is it an alligator? It's a crocodile, but everyone thinks it's an alligator. I feel like it's a callback they're making to our book 11, my book 11 confusion about jaguars and
cheetah.
That's brilliant. Oh, man, I hadn't realized that.
Or a callback to Mouse versus Shrew, book 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mouse versus Shrew. What do you do when it's Mouse versus Shrew? That's a song for the musical.
So, we gotta fight Visser 3. Visser 3 is here. And Rachel's like, just leave me. I'll figure it out. And they're like, yeah, right. And Jake's like, okay, spread out. We're going to be 30 feet apart and we're all going to keep moving.
He's like, triangle. Form a triangle in the ocean. Rhombus.
Rachel goes up to the surface to get air and she sees, so Visser 3 is in his morph and she sees Jeremy Jason McCole very briefly going, is he awesome or what? He's just pumped about Visser 3.
Very excited
he thinks
about
he's the
this
coolest.
morph.
Yeah, it's not a good look. I'm gonna say it. It's pretty embarrassing.
We get a description here, and it's pretty gross. I mean, it looks like a stingray, which is kind of neat, but then she says it looks like a pancake, which is less neat. Like,
I don't know. Pancakes are delicious, but the thing I will say is this description actually helped me imagine the alien that he was morphing better than any other alien description. I'm just imagining a little stingray, and they have those little gills. And just instead of little gills, just imagine a little rocket coming out of them.
Yeah, a little javelin.
Yeah, a little rocket. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like, oh man, I actually can picture that.
I think it's just the first successful. I've never imagined one of the aliens he's morphed before. It's such a, they're always so bizarre.
It's always been like, yeah, it's always been like, oh, it's so hard to describe. It's so big. Like,
they usually lack a hook. Like, there's no, like, gist that you get of the morph. It's always like, it looked like this over here, but on the other side, it looked like this. And it's like, I can't hold the whole thing. But, yeah, you're right, Chris.
I think it's kind of funny, too, because it's like, aside from the word vast, I don't see much describing its size. So, like, part of me imagines it being really small and really...
Yeah.
And just like it's a little bumblebee, and they're like, freaking out about it. But anyway.
Living pancake, nothing like a living blanket.
No. Not nearly as cozy.
Nothing like.
That's true. You know, you're not wrong, Chris. I retract my statement. Nothing like.
I'm sorry. It's
absolutely
like,
right.
Yeah, you're right that they're different.
The lebtin javelin fish is here. Axe gets a cute moment where he's like, I've always wanted to see one. He's like, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, I wanted to see one in a controlled environment.
Yeah. And then Rachel gets shot in the tail.
Yeah. She's out of it,
straight
right?
through her tail.
Yeah, and Rachel, goes belly up and just chills out for a second. The mechanism for the javelin shooting is kind of cool, too. It's kind of like part pufferfish.
Yeah.
Like it swells up with air, and then it just shoots down and shoots the rocket out.
Yeah.
And they do a good job of, like I said, describing that, because I was able to describe it to you. So, yeah.
So presumably it could run out of javelins, right?
Yes.
I mean, that is true. I guess they grow back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
like,
he
it must
just
be
has
like
to go
gecko
pick them
tails.
up after.
Well, I mean, like an archer in D&D. Yeah. I imagine in this, like, obviously for Visser 3, you could just morph back to human, morph back to Visser, and then morph into it again.
When Visser 3 morphs, I'm going to ask so many questions about this. When I just didn't think about them before. When Visser 3 morphs back from this lebtin javelin morph, the spear stays. The javelin stays. Do you think it stays on the ground? It's like
I mean, in Z space. Oh.
Or do you
if it's not attached,
would it walk
stay?
back to him, or
is it part of his mass and it just disappears and? Or would he have to go reabsorb them? That's a great question.
Right. Because
I should make a note for
hold
the
on.
Reddit. I want to ask her.
Yeah, write it down, please, because we need to ask, and then they need to yell at us for taking this seriously. Yeah. But that means like anything that like. Oh my God, and this is so similar to other conversations we've had, but it's just like, the question comes, so we had piss goes with break in a recent episode. Mm-hmm. In a recent episode, we were reading something, I forget exactly what it was, it might have been book 11, but like there was something that broke piss goes with. So
the poison.
Yes, it was the poison. Thank you for remembering. Yeah, Cusco's poison. But yeah, so that was it. So I think it's, strictly speaking, the jury's out. But
and I think there will be.
On.
I know that there's a story of like someone, I think maybe Rachel morphing a starfish, and then at some point using her own detached arm to beat someone. But I don't.
Well, that's just good, clean fun, Miranda.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that was like a remorphed starfish arm or if I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
I can't wait to read about that. There's so much stuff coming up in this book, and I don't know. We have like actual Andalite tech shit that is about to come up. Mm-hmm. Like we're about to be so laden with sci-fi hand waving. Yeah,
I do think. But for now, Rachel is playing possum, And she's encouraging, she's encouraging them all to leave because Cassie gets sliced with a spear and it's just starting to get really not good.
She's not entirely by choice. She actually is having trouble moving too, right? Like, because her tail's pierced.
Yeah.
Yes.
My tail was
not to mention
swimming.
the crocodile is slower than the dolphins and the sharks and whatever else happens.
Actually, the injury ends up being the thing that saves them all, maybe, but she actually says, I wanted to charge the alien creature, but I could barely move at all. Like, it actually stops her worst impulse, like, which is to...
Yeah.
And I think, like, maybe the logic here is actually kind of surprisingly deep, which is, like, if you have a pocket of people who have no reason to be here other than to fight you and you've outmatched them, such as the Visser, he's too lethal, right? So he's so scary that they're all going to run away, but then he hurt one of them. And so now he's going to use that as a bargaining chip because if they don't rescue her, so they have to come back. So I feel like that's why he swims up to Rachel's body, because his next move is he swims up to Rachel's body to sort of claim that territory. And then he's like, all right, your fucking move next. Who am I going after here?
Yeah, they're splitting off in directions, and two of them went this way and two of them went that way or whatever. And so he's going toward these two. And she's like silently thinking, like, go toward them, go for them, please. That's the only way you're going to pass by me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he luckily does. And Rachel I actually really I'm going to try. So before this happens, I do want to say they do a really good job of building tension because they're all sort of swimming around each other. And Rachel's like, you need to go. And Rachel is in an argument, another argument on an argument on an argument with Jake, where she's like, you need to go. Mm-hmm. You need to split up. You need to get out of here and let me handle this. And Jake hesitates for like a split second, and then actually his training from book 11 kicks in, and he's just like, all right, whatever. I let them all die before. Let's get the fuck out of here. And so he peels off with everybody else.
He's the only one that leveled up from book 11. The others didn't get to keep their experience.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. So that's the moment that gives this opportunity to Rachel where the Visser swims up under him in the javelin fish morph, and he does something so theatrical.
Yeah.
Who wants to read this?
Oh,
Miranda, I think you have to. Yeah,
come on, you have to.
The Visser hesitated.
It's my birthday. It's my half birthday.
Am I doing it as Julie? It means it's my birthday.
Or you could do it as Alan Cumming, or you could do it as.
Let's see. Splitting up, eh? Well, that will only affect the order in which I kill each of you. What have I heard the human children say? Ah, yes. Eeny, meeny, miny, moo.
Do you think that Visser 3, because he's clearly been around human children, who knows when, do you think that Chapman had Visser 3 come in for career day at the school?
I think Visser 3's been babysitting for like all the Yerks that have important business, but whose hosts have human children.
Yeah. They had to have tried at least jerking one child.
I will be Uncle Trent. He's
Uncle Visser.
That's a callback to the show. Yeah. Damn.
Okay, so yes. No, Chris, you were setting this up. So Visser 3, finally, he pursues Cassie and ends up going right past Rachel, and she's able to spring.
Eeny, meeny, miny, moo.
Yes.
And then Rachel fucking gets livid at this. She's like, it's eeny, meeny, miny, mo, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then she chomps him.
And
when he
right
gets
as
close.
he blows up to shoot one of the spears.
Right, like he's going for Cassie. He's about to probably kill Cassie. We had a close call where Cassie got grazed by a javelin.
And like we said before, when he throws his spears, he does this big inflation
balloon
thing.
Mm-hmm. Puffer fish.
He gets so we get a little deflated whoopee cushion moment, or like a pierced balloon
this is
moment.
So
like,
good.
It's very Team Rocket.
She chomps down.
Team Rocket's blasting off again.
Team Rocket's blasting off again.
Yeah.
It's so silly.
So she like jerks her every muscle in her powerful crocodile body. My head thrust forward, my jaws open wide, and I bit down. I definitely bit down. Did you know a crocodile has the most powerful jaws in the animal kingdom? Did you know they can practically crush rocks with said jaws? I clamped that long, toothy crocodile jaw down on the left wing of the Visser's javelin fish, and then, poof, spoosh. It was like biting into a water balloon. The inflated javelin fish exploded. All the water it had sucked in to fire its next spear went blasting out through the hole I had made. And then, like Miranda said, he flew. Yeah. And then, I'll just read it.
Yeah,
it's fucking great. And that lebtin javelin fish learned a whole new way to fly. It squirted. Sorry. It squirted. Sorry, I get a running start here. Now I've built it up.
Do you want to tag someone?
It squirted wildly through the water, blasted up through the surface, arced through the air like I'm so sorry, like a sick dolphin, and landed far away with a satisfying splash. There were just a couple things in there that were real mental gotchas for me. I'm
you
sorry.
forgot the important thing. And the whole time we heard Visser 3's thought speak voice crying. And that's
so
where he
good.
exits for the book.
It's so corny.
Yeah,
that's right. Visser out.
And then Marco swims along.
Marco swims up as a dolphin to help Rachel as Crocodile get through the water until she can figure out how to morph back.
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon.